And we're live. Welcome back to the Walla Way, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Imran and I'm here with my co-host, Coach Dee Lancaster. Coach Dee, how you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. So we had a nice episode last week, huh?
Yeah, with April Aguilar from the Rio Grande Valley Vipers G League. It was very good because when I first kind of started my career, I came through the G League. Well, it was the D League at the time, and it just shows how progression, comes a long way. They have their own buses now, and it's actually a good thing to see how things are moving forward. With the NBA and with the G League now.
Yeah, on that note, it was interesting because we were talking about the economics of it in terms of these guys having to, kind of share hotel rooms. And obviously their team is doing it the right way by providing them buses and meals and furnished apartments and whatnot. But in terms of these players, because they're still grinding and trying to make it out there, they're not the marquee or max salary players. So these guys
Right.
have to be a little bit more frugal. They need to be a little bit more conservative and wise with their money. But that was, you and I were talking before we went on today about this little private or secret phone call some of the NBA players had earlier this week. There was, I think, LeBron James, Giannis was there, Kawhi was there, Chris Paul, I think Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, and I think they were discussing resuming the season and if they were in favor of it, which it seems like they are. So you
Right.
also mentioned some real interesting things based on the economics of all this and how this affects ball players, coaches, trainers, people who run camps. So what are your opinions on that?
Well, yeah, but everything for me actually revolves around what the NBA is doing, especially from a summer standpoint. Because as you know, I travel to about 6, 7 different teams, every year to conduct and direct their summer camps. So I recently just received a email from the Washington Wizards
Nice.
saying that their camp for July is no longer. They're going to
Mm,
wait till August. I haven't received any. That's the only team so far that emailed me saying that their camp is canceled so far. But I'm just
wow.
waiting. Next week is going to be a big week for me because I'm going to really see who's going to cancel and who's not. So we'll just see what happens. You just have to improvise and you just have to, get on your grind. Otherwise, maybe I can work out a couple of players or, do something to that matter. So I'm just right now. I'm thinking outside the box and I'm just trying to be creative.
So it's interesting because sometimes when we think about the NBA, we just focus on the player, right? And we look at the superstars, but then we're not looking at everybody on that bench. We're not looking at the coaching staff, the assistant coaches, the trainers, the nutritionists, the physical therapists, the massage therapists, the bus drivers, the ones that are cooking, the ones that are doing X, Y, Z. So I think now you've shed some light on this entire situation where everybody that's part of the NBA family, to whatever extent, is struggling since the season is off. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, it is. It actually is a correct assumption because it's like the only good thing about it is how sometimes when you're in the NBA, the players are the players, and the fans are the fans, and the coaches are the coaches. It's sort of like we're all in the same boat now. We actually are all in the same boat right now. So everyone's trying to be creative. Everyone's trying to talk on Zoom. I tell you one thing, because of this pandemic, I've been on more Zoom calls with NBA players than I ever did in my life. Because it's just, this is the way, you're on certain calls with, like I'm on a call with the Atlanta Hawks every Wednesday with Lloyd Pierce and the Hawk staff. And, we're going over some sets and we're going over some, some drills and just to keep the players going. And Trae Young was on the call last Wednesday. And it was like,
Nice.
I'm like, wow, and we're talking about him being double teamed and how he get out of double teamed and how he's doing things. And it's like, and then this last Friday, it was a junior NBA leadership conference, which I was supposed to be in Chicago for. Remember when I left the All-Star game, I said I'll be coming back in May. So we had the junior NBA leadership conference last Friday. It was obviously virtual, and Steph Curry was on the call, and Doc Rivers and Rick Carlisle. So it was like, you're just blown away because you're sitting here, on a Zoom call with these superstars, and it's like, it's thinking outside the box. That's what it's doing.
So what advice do you have to people who are not marquee players, who are not the primary coaches on teams, so people who are like in situations like yourself where you're glue people. You guys are working with the communities, you're also working with the NBA teams, you guys are in between, helping out the teams through running camps and helping out the youth in the different communities. What advice do you have to people like yourself in terms of just keeping their head up during this time?
Well, I would just say this is the time to be creative. This is the time to really, really zone in on your craft. And I think a couple of weeks ago when we first started our broadcast, I said individual play is going to become better because of this pandemic, because now you can't work out with a buddy, you can't work out in a group setting. So now you really, really have to own up and work on your fundamental individual skills. So like I said a couple of weeks ago, you're going to see a lot of one-on-one play become better. A lot of fundamentals are going to be more toned because what else are you going to do? You can't sit at home, so you're just going to work out all your individual skills, which I'm very pleased about, because I think that we were going away from individual play and just fundamentals. And I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that, like, when you're on a team with somebody like Anthony Davis and LeBron, your flaws are not going to show.
Yeah.
So now your flaws are not going to show because they're going to compensate for your flaws.
They make you look good.
Huh?
I said they make you look good.
They make you look good.
Yeah.
So now if anyone's really about their craft, they'll tone and get their really fundamentally sound skill sets down. That's the advice that I have.
I remember when I was young, maybe 13, 14, and this is before YouTube, this is before Facebook, but this is right at that meeting point when technology was going to start becoming better. It's probably like 2001.
Right.
And I remember they were talking about, like, I forgot what broadcast I was listening, but they were essentially talking about that the summer is the time that NBA players are supposed to use to get better, right?
Yes.
And I remember they were highlighting, like at that time, they were highlighting Paul Pierce. They were highlighting a few guys who were working on their games over the summer, and they were coming back into the season with new moves, like a step back or this or that. Yep. So it's interesting to even know that there are some who don't work on their game, right? I mean, I think some people are naturally gifted and they kind of just rely on that. But then you see the guys who are workhorses in the league. Some of the, like, for example, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is not the fastest guy in the league. He's not the quickest guy in the league. He's strong. He's not the biggest guy. He's a good 6'7". He's a good size shooting guard. But you can tell this is a guy who's put in the work and the hours. And you see the footwork and you see the relentlessness in the approach. So definitely guys who put in that work in the summer, you see them elevate their game and maximize their talent. And you'll see guys who are not like, let's look at Steve Kerr, because everybody's been watching the Last Dance.
Uh-huh.
And Steve Kerr, I mean, a guy who's maybe 6'1", 6'2", right? Average size or under average size for a basketball player. Not quick, not fast, not tall, not strong, can't play above the rim. But what did he do? He worked on the thing that he was good at, right? And knocking down those open shots. And then he also worked on the defensive side. So you saw him win 3 in a row with the Bulls. And then as soon as he got traded to the Spurs, he won another one with the Spurs.
Yep.
That's his 4th. And then he won the 5th one with the Spurs. So, and you saw even in those runs, he had moments in those, because as I mentioned, I'm a Spurs fan. He had really big moments against the Mavericks and the Lakers. So against the Kobe and Shaq Lakers, and against the Dirk and Steve Nash Mavericks, he had some moments, man, where he came in, he was just knocking down shot after shot, forcing turnover by just being that glue defender. He's not going to be a defender who can prevent you from getting the ball or do this and that, but he's going to hustle. So just kind of wanted to reiterate on what you said in terms of putting in that individual work to make sure people have a role.
And see, to touch on that, and this is what I mean by playing with great players. Like, I was a shooter as well. So when you have to just spot up and set your feet and shoot the ball because Mike's driving or Scottie Pippen's driving, that makes you that much more of a better player, because all you have to do is do that. You don't have to run off a screen. You don't have to do anything like that, because the focal point is someone like a Scottie or Mike. So that in turn made Steve Kerr shoot the ball well with the Bulls. And then he did the same thing when he went to the Spurs, because that's kind of his role was over there as well. And that's what I'm saying. So somebody like Steve Kerr, when he was working out, all he probably did was spot and shoot. And then he perfected that, and it showed in the finals.
So watching The Last Dance, let's transition it a little bit to the The Last Dance. Have you caught up with the last few episodes?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Thoughts? I mean, there's a lot of the commentary on the sports world this week has been about Shannon and Skip have been debating. Like, Shannon's basically saying Michael was a bully. Why are we rewarding this type of behavior? So what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, I didn't know in detail, because now they're showing us what's going on behind the scenes. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. And I think that if Michael wasn't like that, I don't think they would have had as many championships. He held everyone to a higher standard, and they had to come up to that standard. So I'm not surprised at all. I mean, I'm a little surprised at the detailed things that they were showing with The Last Dance. You know what I'm actually like. I like about Mike that I never realized how playful he was. And you like that because he's always a no nonsense, just grilling you and things like that. So I'm actually like when he was gambling with the security guard.
Yep.
That's like that. I really appreciated that because it's like wow, Mike. He is human. And also what I really liked was when he transitioned to baseball.
Yep.
The way that they treated him, just like another guy,
one of the guys, yeah.
And I really like that because it was like he knows he's this big iconic figure, and he was just one of the guys, and he wanted to be treated as one of the guys. I'm actually surprised that he was able to hit a ball like that too, though, because baseball's hard.
Yeah, I mean, but again, he grew up playing the sport, right? He grew up playing the sport. He could have easily chosen to pursue college baseball instead of college basketball. So I think the natural gift was there, and it's something he grew up playing. And obviously, you saw the rust when he tried entering back into baseball. Obviously, there's going to be some rust, but you saw that natural inclination to just kind of get back into. What was interesting was Tim Grover was mentioning that in the last episode that the workouts for baseball and basketball are completely different, and he was mentioning that if we build up your body for baseball, it's going to be detrimental to your body in basketball. Michael was
like, remember that?
No problem. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So. Talk to us. This is going to be a shorter episode, ladies and gentlemen. We got I know, Coach Dee, you've been working the phone. So, what do we got in store next week?
Next week, we have a very special guest. We have Kim Hampton, former WNBA player. She played for the Liberty. And what I like about Kim Hampton coming on from the time that she played until now, I'm sure the WNBA has came a long way, and she's like one of the pioneers, I don't know if anyone remembers. I'm showing my age now. I don't know if anyone remembers when Teresa Witherspoon hit that half-court shot against the Houston Comet in the WNBA Finals. Kim Hampton was the one who passed her the ball to hit that incredible shot. So I'm sure we'll talk about that. And she has a lot of business things that I think she has going on that she's going to discuss. So I'm really excited to, pick her brain and, talk about life after the WNBA and life in the WNBA when she was in it. So I'm really excited about that, especially that she played for the New York Liberty.
I think what's going to be interesting is what we were discussing about earlier. She played in an era where maybe the sport was not as popular or influential as it is today.
Right.
So it's going to have some similarities to what we discussed last week with April in terms of the G League, right? In terms of these people working very hard and grinding just to make it, and maybe even the compensation is not what it is on the other side. So it's going to be interesting to pick her brain on the numbers and managing life after retiring and how to keep up the grind and hustle. I did read a little bit about her. She's a motivational speaker. She's got some, like you said, some businesses, but she's been in the NBA and WNBA grind for a hot minute now.
Yeah, and you know what I like about the NBA now? I've been selected for NBA All-Star Weekend for the past 8-9 years, something like that. I've noticed that the NBA is really maintaining their focus, one, on the junior NBA, which is great for me, and two, the women's part, the WNBA. Before, when I first started doing All-Star, it was all about the superstars. It was all about, the Kobes and the LeBrons and the Shaqs, and not to take nothing away from the women, but now they have the women more involved. Now they have the logo everywhere, with the NBA logo around. So they're like really trying to push the women aspect of basketball, which I like, And that's one thing about Kobe. He was a big advocate for women's basketball. And that's unfortunate because I think he really was going to make a big push to do something with the WNBA. I don't know what it is, but I just felt it, and let's just hope that his, whatever he had going is going to be fulfilled.
Yeah, Tony Parker came out with something a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you saw that, but he was saying that him and Kobe were in talks about the WNBA or like helping women's basketball out. So Tony Parker was mentioning that that was a bit saddening that they were on. Let me you know what, just to make sure, let me look it up real quick, man.
Okay.
Don't want to put out false propaganda. I think let's see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, right here. Kobe Bryant had plans for women's basketball with Tony Parker, for growing women's basketball with Tony Parker. He said the last time I saw Kobe was in China.
Oh, wow.
When he was an ambassador for the World Cup. We were sitting together having conversations about women's basketball and how we can grow it. He knew that I owned a women's team and was investing a lot in women's basketball. It's just sad that I can't see him anymore. I wish we could have done all that stuff together because we would have done great stuff together in women's basketball.
Wow. See?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, Kobe had a lot of friends. He had a lot of fans. I didn't even know the man, and I'm still hurting. I ain't even know him. I met a lot of players, but I never met Kobe. Well, that's not true. I met him at Rucker when he came to Rucker. But it was so many people there. I don't really consider that me. It was quick. But again, let's hope that we keep that going. And you know what? I think that is good because a lot of times, because I'm in the camp industry and the player development, a lot of the females now shy away from basketball from what I've noticed because there's no girls there. They don't want to be, if it's a co-ed camp, they don't want to go to a camp where it's all boys. They want some females there. So I'm seeing that the females are more getting involved with basketball, and I commend the NBA on that for pushing the WNBA and women's basketball.
Maybe we can have Tony Parker on here one day and pick his brain about it.
Maybe I could probably get Boris Dee out.
Oh, Boris is awesome. Yeah, if we get Boris, we can
get Boris.
We can twist his arm to get Tony Parker on there because they're childhood friends. So.
Oh, they are.
Yeah. They grew up playing ball together in France.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't speak French though.
It's okay. We can speak to them in English, and I'm sure they have plenty of experience speaking English over here. But yeah, two good guys, man. There's a lot if you follow the Spurs and you follow those two. They talk about the influence of Michael Jordan had on them. As they were kids growing up watching basketball. So Tony Parker always mentions that was one of his idols, and he grew up wanting to be like Mike. And I think that was in part why he signed with Charlotte.
Really?
In his last year, yeah, he wanted to play for Mike.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I think that was odd that he went to Charlotte, but I mean, I didn't mind. He had his rings already.
Yeah, yeah. He also had his countryman there, Nicholas Batum. So yeah, so he's been around for a hot minute. So, all right, Coach, I think we're good, man. I think we covered what we needed to cover. We got great news from you about next week.
Oh yeah, so, I can't wait.
Next Sunday, huh? At 12 p.m.
Yeah, next Sunday at 12 Central, 1 Eastern.
Awesome. So, Coach, thank you as always. Walloway fans, thank you for joining Coach D and myself. We'll see you guys next week, and we'll have our special guest on. So be ready with your questions.
Absolutely.
Talk to you guys soon.